TV. I don't have to stand here.
What's that?
Yeah, we
Yes,
are.
we are.
The
Yes,
cameras. Yeah.
Okay, never
Yeah.
mind.
We're
Never
good.
mind. Well, thank you for letting me come in as far as the Expo Center for our budget request for this year. As I was telling some of the commissioners this morning, we do not have a PowerPoint presentation. You know of our plight at the Expo Center. Betty had asked us to submit, just like the other departments, a zero-based budget with one extra payroll period in there. So we are looking at an additional, as far as operating expenses, we're looking at additional $75,000 for that extra pay period. And expect it to come up here just this quick. Hang on. As far as capital repairs, we are asking for an additional funds, going back to last year's request of $250,000, as opposed to what was approved this year at $104,000. We did submit our capital repair list. It's somewhat of a, it's kind of a wish list. We fix things as they come up. We try to anticipate those things that need to be fixed the next year. But again, we do have that list there. It's about a $2 million list. But as far as the repairs, you're looking at repairs to our Zamboni, our motors, other HVAC systems. We are in the process right now of breaking down the boilers and the motor pumps that was approved on the last capital expenditure request from last month. But we do anticipate utilizing about $250,000 for 2015 in capital repair. It is not a capital purchase, but they're just mainly the repairs. We have done what I think is a very good job of maintaining our budget and our allocation, our subsidy from the county. We have been frozen on our allocation for about the last 3 years, 3 to 4 years. I think it's about 4 years now, going on 4. But as you know, with the costs going up, such as utilities, and the repairs that we've talked about, insurance, whether it be the property liability insurance or health care coverage, we're looking at ways of covering those costs to make sure that we fall within that subsidy. We have reluctantly, we've kept our prices the same as far as our rental arrangements are concerned. Our rental rates have been the same for the last 3 or 4 years. But we're at a point now where if we continue the path that we're going on, we are fairly saturated as far as the dates that we have booked. We do about 650 to 700 events a year in all of our facilities, and I think we've maximized our usage as far as the facilities are concerned, but we'll probably be looking at a small increase in rental prices for 2015, and those prices don't necessarily equate into price increases as far as ticket prices increase, but those who rent Heritage Hall or Ag Hall or the consumer shows that rent Landon Arena and Exhibition Hall. So you'll probably be getting through our contract and our bylaws with the advisory board. We will be going through the advisory board and suggesting some price increases for 2015. I think we're able to make this year's budget. Next year's will be very tight, as it is with all the other departments. With the half-cent sales tax initiative possibly on the ballot for this year, we're still looking at another 2.5 to 3 years before any taxes are collected, and if we're lucky enough to be involved in the renovation and expansion, you're still looking at about 4 to 5 years before we see any major renovations to the building. So it's something that the building that we're going to have to maintain. We're going to have to remain competitive. With our other markets being very price sensitive, and that's again that we're very reluctant to raise prices, and we have to remain price sensitive on that. But we are even this year now looking at further competition in the area. We just found out the other day that KU and their Rock Chalk Park has capabilities for about 14 volleyball courts. So we've got sporting events that could be, we'd be competing for now with Lawrence, along with Salina and Dodge City and Wichita. So the competition gets greater. For those events, there's only so many events out there that you can get, and we remain very competitive on those. But you know, we look forward to, again, working with the Convention and Visitors Bureau and Visit Topeka and Terry. I think he's been a great asset since he's been in town, and going after some of these events that we may not have had the opportunity to go after before. So, do you have any questions regarding our budget?
Commissioner?
I go first quite a bit. Does Commissioner Reeler, do you?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm trying to alternate, but,
Yeah.
Well, all right.
Commissioner?
And I noted, for some reason, Expo Center is in allocations and not in,
Yes.
yeah, okay. But we split the two, capital outlay and then the operating, basically, right? So there's no increase in the operating,
No increase in the operating other than the
the-
salary increase for
right?
the extra pay period.
And then the capital outlay is a $145,000 difference,
Mhm.
correct? Okay. Just want to make sure I'm looking at the same
Yeah.
thing, so.
I mean, as it was noted last year, when we asked for the 250,000, we said we would be, if there was any cuts, you know, we'd be coming back to the commission, and that's kind of where we're at right now.
Okay. Everything else?
HR, a couple of questions. When we look at the funding that you receive assistance, is there money received from the city of Topeka for the Expo Center?
The only money that we receive from the city is transient guest tax dollars.
Okay. And about
Uh,
how much do you receive per year in transient guest tax?
Right now, we are allocated for $50,000 from the city. Visit Topeka is holding back a contingency of, I believe, 20%, so we're receiving $40,000 from the city. Sitting on, in our location that we have with the Capitol Plaza connected to us on county property, you know, they generate over $450,000 in transient guest tax dollars. If you look at the various hotels and talk to the general managers on how much we actually generate as far as business for them, and it's not just the Capitol Plaza or the Ramada, but we're talking about the Cono Lodge, the Super 8s, the Hyatts. We send a lot of business to Wanamaker. In my estimation, in my head, we're about 1/3 of the $2.1 million of transient guest tax dollars we help generate directly. There is only one hotel in the county, that's Super 8, and graciously allowed us to utilize those monies for our marketing campaign. And you know, with those, just with one hotel, you're looking at, I think, about $35,000 is what's estimated this year as far as the transient guest tax dollars. But to answer your question, we used to receive quite a bit more from the city. When I was, a couple years before I arrived here, it was right around $200,000 from the city, so.
But even still, in comparison to the county's responsibility with the allocation from Shawnee County is the primary subsidy for the Expo Center
Yes, it is.
to help keep. And so when we look at that, that's an important consideration in, you know, the operations, just the general function of the Expo Centers from Shawnee County.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sits right in the middle of the city, and, you know, as far as any sales tax that are generated, rolls back into the city. Any economic impact regarding whether it be hotels or restaurants, usually right inside the city in the core. You know, we have the motorcycle sales at Harley jump when we have larger conventions in town. So, I mean, it even goes past the food and the beverage and the entertainment. The people that come in actually, you know, they'll go out and they'll buy a Ford, or, you know, with Laird Nola right there, or the Harley Davidson dealership right there. But, you know, the fact of the matter is that, yes, it's a Shawnee County-owned facility. Benefits mainly the citizen, or mainly the city of Topeka as far as the revenues, the indirect revenues coming in. But it's really a Northeast Kansas facility. So you've got to kind of have to look broader than that, because when we've looked at who comes to the Expo Center, about 65 to 67% of all the cars that come in, it's very scientific, we look at license plates, are from outside Shawnee County.
Now, you've outlined for us the capital expenditures list, some of them marked as critical. I mean, I think everybody here is aware we're talking about a sales tax extension and including the Expo Center in that.
Mm-hmm.
In the event that the sales tax extension would not pass and we still have an Expo Center, is this really a comprehensive list of things that we need to tackle now, or are there things that we need to add to it?
No, there are things that we need to add to it. If you look at last year's critical list, it had about $15 to $20 million worth of repairs to it that are critical. You know, the roofs and the main chiller, the seating, you know, I've got the risers in there on those, but no, and the commissioners have made the point over and over again, we need to do one of three things. You either fix it up, expand it, or close it. And, you know, Commissioner Archer was the last one to say that. And I, you know, being from SMG, you know, it's true. You know, we need to make a decision on what we want to do, but if you look at what we've had there as far as the Expo Center and what we do at the Expo Center, whether it be the Michelle Obamas or the trade shows or the conventions, you know, we are very fortunate to have a facility like the Expo Center because there's only one of about 4 in the United States that I can think of that have a convention center, an arena attached to a hotel, which is attached to a livestock facility, which has a very large parking lot, which has RV parking, and 2 community center buildings. So it's a unique animal that we're dealing with. If we had just an arena and we were to take $10 million or $12 million, similar to Salina, which they're doing right now at the Bicentennial Center, they can do an awful lot with $12 million because they have one building to work with. But when we're talking about a $45 million or $40 million or, you know, even a $25 million spread over the course of 5 facilities, you don't get a lot done with that. It's a matter of keeping it up and, yes, keeping it competitive. But you have to compare apples to apples when you look at what other communities are doing with their facilities. It's been said that, you know, yes, we are a mass gathering facility, but when it comes right down to it, the Expo Center, what I like, and our staff has likes to say, is we create memories. Everybody remembers their first concert. Everybody remembers going to a conference where they heard Zig Ziglar say, "You can do anything if you put your mind to it," or taking your grandkids to the circus. Everybody remembers those things. It's not like being in Judge Miller's court where you might remember that, especially on you know how hard he is on you. But we create memories. And we also create economic. My first concert was Herman and the Hermits in 1967.
Styx and Salina, I think.
Beatles.
Probably sticks at Sandstone.
Steppenwolf. They were horrible. Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you, sir.
But as you can see, everybody remembers.
Yeah.
Well,
Did you have
Well,
more?
that might be a point, though. We see that, you know, you and I have had this conversation on again, off again, about what is the focus of the Expo Center? Is it on drawing people in, such as conferences or competitions, or is it on having artists and those sorts of things, you know, music events or concerts coming
Mhm.
in? I mean, do we see a change in the Expo Center and programming?
To answer that question, I don't think we do. And I'm sorry, I've got broader mission statements because that was part of the outline. The competition for concerts is tough. You know, we're lacking this year in concerts. There are fewer and fewer acts going out, and the acts that are going out are usually either large names that are playing fewer shows for large amounts of money, or there's acts that are going out that quite can't quite fit in the Expo Center. Right now, we're looking at competition from, again, Salina, Independence, Hartman Arena. We compete a little bit with Intrust, but not very much. Council Bluffs, now Dodge City, now the casino down in Mulvane. The community will always look for entertainment. They'll always ask for entertainment. I think we should continue to go after that entertainment. The concert industry ebbs and flows. Like I said, right now there's not a lot of acts out on the road. The acts that are playing right now this summer, your Styx, your Journeys, they're combining their talents and they're going to Sandstone Amphitheater. But they're going to have to play somewhere in the winter, indoors if they go out. Those are the concerts we look for, because we don't do a lot in the summer. But to give you an example, Alan Jackson that we had a few years ago, he commanded $200,000. And $200,000, by the time you add in all the expenses, we have to sell 4,000 tickets just to break even. The cost of entertainment is rising. Your Live Nations of your world and your AEGs of the world and your casinos mainly have been offered to buy that entertainment, put it in their casino at a very high price, can create a loss leader, so that people go buy the slot machines and pay for the buffets and things. We don't have that luxury here as far as an extra income somewhere else. So we have to be very creative. We do have a programming fund that was put in place a couple years ago by SMG, and we're looking forward to utilizing that. But we have to be able to find the right mix. So really, to answer your question, I don't think the mission has changed. We try to be everything to everybody in Northeast Kansas. Now, there's some events that are too small for us, that want to come into the Expo Center. A lot of nonprofits and just can't do it. This is not price effective. But there's a lot of things that we do go after, and we try to change. We're always trying to think of new things to bring into the facility. For instance, the dog shows that we've found great success with. The horse shows, now that we've really made a push for the equine industry, we're finding a really good niche there, and we actually had created events in the Domer that those events outgrew us after a couple years, and they end up going to Tulsa. It could be anything, even as crazy enough as to looking at the International Wiffle Ball Championships, bringing that into the Expo Center for a weekend. That was Commissioner Cook's idea. So, but we look at things that, being in Topeka, we're not a Chicago, we're not Houston, we're not New York City. We have to look at things that will fit here. The International Horseshoe Tournament coming in next year is going to be big. We have found our niche with the International Demolition Derby Championships. Not a glamorous event, but it's very important to somebody, and they fill up all the hotel rooms in November. The Kansas Kids of the world.
And fill up the Expo Center.
And fill up the Expo Center. Yeah, they do, yeah, you were there with people and carbon monoxide.
I could just follow up
Oh,
on
sure.
the capital repairs. Right now, we're paying for these with property taxes. And counties don't have the diversity, I think, as cities do, of more diversification of their revenue. So, the sales tax makes sense to help in paying for some of these improvements instead of relying on property tax. Because the fact of the matter is, I've seen your list, HR, for several years now, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and that's no fault of yours. But if we're going to rely on property tax to do that, that's a big hit to
Yeah.
a homeowner or business. And so it becomes really critical, this discussion on the sales tax, if we're going to be able to use this, transit guest funds, and some property tax for continuation of operations. It's just,
Yeah.
we have to, yeah.
Yeah,
Make
and
some decisions.
if you look at some of the other facilities, whether it be Wichita or Kansas City, they have been able to Wichita was an additional, Sedgwick was an additional sales tax.
Mhm.
Kansas City, it was a taxi tax, you know. Other cities have looked at entertainment taxes. We're not large enough for
Right.
those type of added taxes going on there. So, and like I said, if we go in the route of a sales tax, those that come in, you're looking at those who also come into the city,
Right.
help pay for those improvements.
Right, exactly.
Some of the things that, that we've done this past couple of years as far as operating expenses and keeping those down. We've looked at utilities, some of our capital expenditures when we go to replace a motor. For a chiller, we'll replace it with a updated motor with a freak drive on it that monitors, the initial push and amperage pull of the motors. We're looking at, we've replaced all of our exit lighting with LED lighting, which actually saves quite a bit of money if you think about how many exit lights are in a building. We've looked at we've installed step load processors for our chiller motors, so they just don't turn on 100%, so we're looking at peak demands, setting high peak demands. So it's not, a matter of just asking for the subsidy and utilizing it. I mean, we're trying to stretch things as far as we can, but also try to improve the efficiency of the building. We've got several positions that have been left unfilled, one or two over the course of several years, that we're going to have to, look at filling those eventually down the road. But we've always looked at it as we are like a department of the county, and technically we're not. We're a contractor. SMG is a contractor with the county, but we also live here. We pay taxes. We pay property tax. We have a small business in town. So we try to maintain, what we do, both in shows and expenses, like it is ours. And we try to be good stewards of the facility.
No, thank you.
I just have one thought, and and I don't expect an answer today, but if I had a constituent that came to me and said, why do you support subsidizing the Expo Center by $1.7 million a year, and why do you support a sales tax question that would invest $45 million in the Expo Center, how should I respond to that? And I'm not asking for but I'd like bullet points to say, this is why we subsidize the Expo Center. This is why we need to invest or close it down. Do you understand?
Oh, absolutely. And I get
Okay.
that question every day.
Okay.
When I talk to civic groups, that question comes up.
Okay.
And it is similar to, why do we need a library? It does cost the taxpayers money,
Hmm.
and it is an added value to the quality of life. And we talk about quality of life, all day long regarding hospitals and libraries and schools, but you're also looking at the investment of the community, of, again, building those memories, but also from an investment standpoint of economic impact, because our economic impact is hovering right around $80 million a year.
And that's the bullet points
And
that
that's
we
the-
need to.
And it's not just, if only Topeka were to come to the Expo Center, then we would not grow as a community. But because we have concerts that people from the outside come in, our economic base begins to expand, because they also spend the night in hotels and go to the restaurants and do all that stuff. And once they've done that, and they've done it often enough, and there's enough money being pumped in, then there's other development that happens, whether it be a Wanamaker or a strip mall or a movie theater. There's other things that happen, not because of people in Topeka that go to them, but because from outside they come in to also shop there and go there. It's it's one of those things that if you when I moved here 15 years ago, one thing that we had to do is we had to drive around and say, okay, what is there to do? What is the quality of life? And I'm not talking about going to the library, but what is there to do outside of outside the movies? And that's what the community is about. I envision one of these days, if we get our improvements, that people who live here, then when they have visitors come in, aunts, uncles, cousins, and they say, well, let me take and show you around, and they come by the expo center. I said, I want to show you what we built. I want to show you what we've done. And right now, we are seeing the visioning process starting to come to fruition with the NOTO and the Discovery Center and what we've done at Gage and the zoo. And we want to be part of that. We want to be one of those dots that gets connected between Washburn and the Expo Center and downtown to Noto to Gage, and create a community that we can all be proud of. You know, not that we're not proud of now, but just look at all the stuff we got going. We always have city envy. We always have other city envy. Look what they have. Well, now's the time where we're starting to get that. We're starting to have stuff like that. And we would like to be part of that.
My only point was that with all the demands that we have on tax dollars in Shawnee County, and I think all of us get asked, why do we support the Expo Center, the operating budget, and putting it on the sales tax? And I'd like to give a 2-minute answer.
Yeah.
Okay, because people that ask me don't have half an hour for me
No.
and I hope you understand that.
No,
But
they
if
don't.
we had a one page, no more than one page, with the economic benefits, the community asset that it is, how it's really the only solid meeting place that we have in Shawnee County, how it impacts Northeast Kansas, all of those things on one page, that would be helpful to me to explain why we subsidize and why we want to go forward and invest in it rather than shutting it down.
Absolutely. And you can,
Okay.
we can easily do that, but I also want to make another point, because I don't, Commissioner Archer, I don't think you were here at the time. The Expo Center, as far as SMG, we manage 250 buildings worldwide. You know, we're in 38 states, 5 countries, Mexico, Hawaii, you know, the whole bit. There are only 2 facilities in the SMG property that I know of that account for every penny spent for the Expo Center, or for their buildings. Expo Center is one of them, and there's another one in Napa, Idaho, that also accounts for all of that. So when you are out and you hear your constituents say, well, I understand the subsidy and, you know, pick a city, Oklahoma City, you know, is only $200,000. Why are they only losing $200,000? We account for every cost that it takes to operate the Expo Center. Property insurance, utilities. There's a lot of overhead costs that are usually put into a general fund, and those are pulled out of the general fund. If we were to do that, our operating subsidy would hover right around $300,000, and we'd be right in there with the rest of them. So we're no different than other facilities across the United States, but we're able to say exactly how much it costs to operate our facilities. I just wanted to point that out. I know I didn't get a chance to.
Right? Okay.
That's a good point, though.
Mhm.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
So important.
But when you look at the kids wrestling tournament, that one event comes close to recouping the entire cost for the year, when you talk about the economic impact.
Mhm.
And so that's where we see the return on our investment.
Yeah. It's $1.1 million just for one event of the money that is spent here. So, but
Okay.
Commissioner Archer, yes, I will have your.
Okay. I think it would be helpful. I really do. It would help me, and
Oh,
I
yeah,
think it would help
absolutely.
all the commissioners, and to get the story out, because we're gonna have a lot of selling to do.
Yeah.
If we're fortunate enough to have an Expo Center investment on the sales tax ballot in November,
Yeah.
and that amount. So
Yeah.
we've got a lot of stories to tell before
Yes,
we
we
get
do.
to that point. So-
And it's, you know, it goes without saying, you know, we paint a dark picture of the Expo Center, but you have to remember, we're full. You know, we're doing 650 events a year. We may not have the facilities and the amenities and the brass and the crystal, but what we've got one thing that we utilize over and over again, and that's our service. Our service is by far better than, in my opinion, and in other people's opinions, better than as we go. SMG has implemented this year a customer service survey that is given to just about anybody who comes through the door, and you're able to go on a website
Oh,
and rate you know, the ushers, the front of house, the ticket takers, the parking lot personnel, the ticket, you know, anybody that they can run into, they can rate on a scale of 1 to 10. And as far as our SMG family that we have, as far as smaller buildings, we average about a 9.7, 9.9 on a scale of
Wow.
10. And the company-wide average is running about 9. So so that's the one thing that we can always continue to sell is our service.
Service. Okay.
Once we get them in the door, boy, they enjoy it while they're there.
Good. Betty, did you have anything? Okay. HR, thank you very much. Donna, good
Thank
to
you.
see you. And